Hi everyone, it's Juan CL again. Now we're going to do a double review of two movies that are almost identical, but not that identical. That is Antz and A Bug's Life, both released in 1998 by DreamWorks and Pixar. Now we're going to first review Bug's Life because Bug's Life is considered to be more successful and more family friendly. So what is Bug's Life about anyway? Well, it's based off of the ant and the grasshopper, so now ants work for grasshoppers for some reason. The ants have to give food for grasshoppers, and every ant has to bring every inch of food they can find just for the grasshoppers. They're like slaves. And there's one particular ant that has inventions, and that is Flick. Flick is, a downer, and everyone hates him because he's not like any other ant. And he hits on the princess, because of course, since that ants live in a colony, they have a princess and a queen. And there's also the villain, and the villain is the main grasshopper, who's justly named just Hopper, who's voiced by Kevin Spacey. Now, they just wanted to find a way to stop the grasshoppers from ruling over the ants, so Flick had to find a way to look for some other bugs to fight them. And you know who they hired? The circus bugs, The circus bugs Flick thought that, the circus ants and bugs were just warriors, but they really weren't. They were just playing around at that one bar when he just traveled all the way across some sort of grass part, So they brought in, and this is where the movie really starts to begin to throw in a lot of action, because since that Bug's Life is bright and colorful and everything, just like Ants, there are some dark moments, like the final battle, as well as feeding Hopper to that one real bird at the very end. Don't get me wrong, both Antz and Bug's Life are good movies. Bug's Life is a lot brighter and more colorful, but not as memorable, and there's not as many memorable voice actors for Bug's Life. I mean, yeah, there's Kevin Spacey and Dennis Leary and a few other voice actors that are kind of familiar, but not that familiar. Some of the voice actors from Bug's Life are some of the same people who worked at Pixar. And since that Bug's Life was made later in November of 1998, I bet this marks the 17th anniversary of Bug's Life, while Antz just happened like 2 months ago because Antz was released in September. So Bug's Life, it's good, it's very funny, but I still don't think it would have been nice enough if they just had a few more characters, and if they actually, had ants that actually were warriors just like in Antz. So if you like Bug's Life over Antz, just post in the comments why you like Bug's Life better than Antz. Now, what about Antz? Well, Antz is a little bit more darker and more satirical more than Bug's Life, because Bug's Life is, just like I said earlier, is aimed for kids, while Antz is a lot darker and had a lot more action and a lot more, drama and a lot more language as well, because since that Antz has a lot more language, it has a lot more, adult stuff. And this was DreamWorks, and this is Pixar. And sadly, I could not find the VHS, clamshell case for Antz, so I only have Bug's Life, but I just want to make sure they look equally, VHS type. So Bug's Life, like I said earlier, was made for kids, while Antz was more made for like adults and teenagers. Alright, so I just really hope that they make a sequel to one of these movies, and if DreamWorks and Pixar ever get into another rivalry with two similar films, I would be intense. So let's move on back to Antz. Antz is a lot more similar, but this time there's no grasshoppers. And the ants in this movie are brown, while the ants in Bug's Life are blue. Kind of more realistic. Not to mention there's a lot more celebrity voice actors in Antz. There's Woody Allen, who is voicing Z, Sylvester Stallone as Weaver, and there's Sharon Stone as the princess. There's also Danny Glover, Jennifer Lopez, Christopher Walken, Dan Aykroyd. There's a lot of celebrities in Antz compared to Bug's Life. I guess because, they fit more because the majority of those actors are not made for kids. I mean, yeah, some of them might have been in kids' movies, but the majority of them have been in more adult movies than kids' movies. Now, the film is a little bit similar, except that Z is a little different, just like Flick, but he talks to himself a lot and talks so much about how he feels different from all the colony, where they just work, dig tunnels, and also, fight, because the ants have an army. And he wanted to, you know, find a way to leave the colony by just joining, you know, the soldiers. So he had to switch places with Weaver, and then he had to fight a termite war, and he also met a princess when he was at a bar, and that princess was Princess Bala. And their chemistry is a little bit similar to in Bug's Life, but their you know, character development is a lot more realistic and a lot more adult oriented. It's a lot more complicated too. Now, they're both very similar because, let's face it, a worker bug or an ant that has, you know, very low, you know, standards with other ants, he falls in love with a princess and saves a society. That's what both Antz and Bug's Life are like. Antz, on the other hand, has a general, and that general is named Mandible, and he just wants to take over the colony and just finds a way to, you know, get rid of all the ants and dig into more tunnels full of water. And since the termite war ended in a disaster with everyone dying except for Z, he wanted to find a way to kill Z. While Z just flew away with the princess, now they go on misadventures, including meeting a person at a picnic table, as well as, you know, being in some sort of insectopia thing, you know. That way they'd have fun, but then one of the you know, workers of General Mandible happens to be the character who's voiced by Christopher Walken. Now, Antz has a lot more language, like I said earlier, and it's a lot more memorable, and there are a few funnier scenes that are in Antz rather than Bug's Life. I mean, Bug's Life is funny, but they didn't try hard enough with their adult humor. I'm pretty sure there might have been, you know, a little bit of sexual innuendos in Bug's Life, but they would have ruined it for the G rating, while Antz was rated PG. And you could tell that Antz wasn't as successful as Bug's Life. Bug's Life grossed over $300 million, while Antz grossed more than $170 million, which is still not bad. It was still higher than its budget. So, what do you think is better, Bug's Life or Antz? In my opinion, I'd have to go with Antz because the story's a little bit more, even though it is complicated, it's still well explained. There are a lot more action scenes, the character development's a lot more memorable, and the voice acting is by far the best part. Yeah, the voice acting's done way better in Antz, better than Bug's Life, even though Bug's Life had a few celebrities here and there, while Antz did like even more well-known celebrities. So, I hope you all comment and subscribe and stay tuned for a double video game review of WWE WrestleMania 19 for the Nintendo GameCube and WWE SmackDown Here Comes the Pain for the PlayStation 2. Peace out, rock on, ciao.